Yo, what's going on, man? Today is March the 17th, 2023. It's your boy Chris, and this is the Cash It with Chris NBA betting show slash podcast, where we try to get ahead of the early lines, try to see if we can take advantage of some of those early lines, and we bet on basketball. We bet on NBA, and we try to be profitable doing so. So, as you guys join, if you guys are still finding, value in the content, consider hitting the like button for me, subscribing to the shows on YouTube, and all of those really good things. I appreciate that as always. And let's see if we can find some winners for today. As I always do, I do like to do just a quick recap of yesterday. Um, we didn't have the greatest day yesterday. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't the greatest day. We did have a 1-2 day yesterday. Orlando and Phoenix went over by 1 point. 229 is what the game finished at, 116 to 113. I actually fell asleep on the game, but it was kind of trending in the wrong direction. If you guys was watching, the last few minutes of the first quarter, of the second quarter, we saw like 8 points scored in the last couple minutes of each quarter. 3 4 point plays, technical fouls. It was just a lot. Get my hat fixed right. It was just a lot going on in those games. So that game did go over by 1 point yesterday. That's a tough break. I take that play every single time. 10 out of 10. Also, Fred VanVleet didn't need to get to 20 and 21 points yesterday. Did take his over 20 and a half. He finished at 19, so just too short there. That game was also a blowout, so he didn't play the last few minutes. And typically, he's the guy that's shooting the last minute free throws. If the game is close, which it was kind of indicative of being a close game based on the spread. And then Jakob Poeltl did get his double early in the fourth quarter, so we did cash that one. It was a plus money play, so we lose a little bit of steam, but overall, I think I was 11-2 on the week before yesterday. So if you guys have been taking the plays, you've been cashing. So yeah, that's what I got for you guys there. 11-2, then we go 1-2, so it's 12-4 weeks so far. So yeah, we're doing pretty good for ourselves this week. But real quick, let's get through some of the games today. There's a couple games that I wanted to talk to you guys about and that I wanted to break down. Let me just get my notes moved over. Let me just get my notes moved over. We can get started. So first game I wanted to touch on was the Philadelphia 76ers and the Charlotte Hornets game. So I know it's probably not the greatest game on the board, but we got the Sixers coming to Philly today. First Hornets. Looks like they're laying 10 points. So I'm sorry, it looks like the Hornets, the home team, are catching 10 points. And we got a total of we'll say 226. There's some 226s out there, 227s out there, 226s and a halves out there as well. Let me tell you guys what I think about this game. So I think it's important to mention that neither one of these teams are on the front end of a back-to-back. We always look at that when we're trying to cap totals, because I'm looking at the total specifically. 10 points is a bit much. Sixers coming off a really impressive win. Could this be a letdown spot? I think absolutely could. You get the Hornets also. They're on the fourth straight home game with 3 straight overs in their previous game as well. So looking at the Sixers team, I think it could be a letdown spot for the Sixers. Defensively, specifically, I don't think that the Charlotte Hornets are going to be able to stop them, even though Charlotte had been playing a little bit better defense. Their defense has kind of regressed to the mean. They'll also be without Mark Williams, I think, for this game as well. I think he's listed as doubtful. He hasn't played in the last few games, and he's been a big anchor on that defense, specifically since LaMelo got hurt. He's come in and got a couple double-doubles. So letdown spot for the Sixers potentially after a tough game against the Cavs on the road 2 nights ago. You look at this Sixers team; they are 13-6 to the over in road games versus a team with a losing record. with those games averaging about 231 points, so 13-6 to the over there. If you look at the Sixers as road favorites in conference games, it gets even better. They're 8-3 to the over, and those games are averaging about 229 points combined, including 4 straight overs in that spot as well. Diving in a little bit deeper, looking at the Sixers, they're also 3-1 to the over when they're coming off a win versus a team that that has a when they're coming off a win versus a team that has a I'm sorry, my notes are a little confusing to me. Let me try this again. The Sixers are also 3-1 to the over when they're coming off a win versus a team that they're facing that had a previous that has a losing record in their next game. I hope that makes sense. So 3-1 to the over when they're coming off a win versus a team that has a winning record and facing a team that has a losing record. So when the Sixers have played against a team that's good and they won that game, they typically have a letdown spot in the next game. They're facing a team that has a losing record. They go 3-1 to the over in that spot. This seems to me, it kind of seems prime for a letdown spot on the defensive end. We know that the Sixers can get whatever it is they want with Embiid and with James Harden. I couldn't talk anybody off looking at James Harden assists. Couldn't talk anybody off looking at Embiid props as well, as he kind of makes a push for his MVP campaign, and he's now taking the lead over Jokic. As of yesterday, he had taken the lead over Jokic. You look at these two. You look at the prime letdown spot. Sixers coming off a game where they beat a winning team. Now they're facing a losing team. They are averaging a combined 243 points in that spot. I think it's one of the reasons why we're kind of seeing this one move up as far as the total. It opened at 225.5. It's up to 227 on some books. It's up to 226.5 as well. I do like the over in this game. I do like the over. Sixers are also 5-2 to the over when facing road favorites with a total of 225 or lower. So that would be my breakdown for this game. I'll be looking at the total. I think Sixers can get whatever it is that they want, and we see this time and time again when teams don't have a rest disadvantage, or they don't have aren't on the first leg of a back-to-back. They can kind of go all out in those spots. We know that, like I said, the Hornets they were an under team, but they have 3 straight overs in their previous game. So I don't see the Hornets slowing this team down. I also think the Sixers could kind of take their foot off the gas on the defensive end. Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, I think those guys could have, pretty big games in this one because the Sixers will just overlook them. Also, these two teams did play earlier in Philly. Was a letdown spot for the Sixers in that one without LaMelo as well, and that game did go over the total. So if I'm playing this game, I'm playing the over. 226 is the best number that you guys can get right now. Like I said, this 226 is widely available, even though some books offer in 227. I do like the over in this spot. Moving along, I want to touch on the next game I want to touch on. I want to touch on this Warriors and the Hawks game that's going to take place at State Farm Arena tonight. So Warriors, Hawks. It looks like, from my estimation, it looks like the Hawks are 2-point favorites, 1-point favorites. We'll just call it 1.5. We'll say that we'll say that the Hawks are 1.5 point favorites. We got a total of 247.5. Looks like that number dropped a little bit because the bookmaker still got 248. So let's talk about this game. So first thing I think is important to mention is Draymond did get suspended. He picked up his 16th technical foul in the Clippers game on Wednesday, so he will not be available. That tech that is not going to be rescinded, so they'll be without Draymond in this spot. The Warriors are also on the first leg of a back-to-back, and they play in Memphis tomorrow. So conference game tomorrow, but non-conference game today, and potentially a winnable game today. They struggled to play in Memphis all season long, whether Ja Morant is there, whether Ja Morant is not there. But this Hawks team is terrible. We know, I've been talking about it for a while now. Defensively, this team is really, really bad. So potentially a winnable game for the Warriors here, if they can somehow bring it on the defensive end. Do they typically bring it on the defensive end? Absolutely not. The Warriors are 25-8-1 to the over on the road this season. So if you just blindly, take the over in their games on the road, you've been extremely, extremely profitable. This is one of the highest totals that we've seen throughout the year. I don't know if it's the highest total, but it is definitely one of the highest totals that we've seen throughout the year. You look at this Warriors team; they're 13-5 to the over and roll as road dogs this season. So they typically score points, but they give up more points. Is what that's telling me. You look at this Hawks team; they're coming off two straight losses where they gave up 136 points to the Timberwolves on Wednesday. And then they had a game against the Celtics. I think that was on Monday. They gave up 134 points in that spot. Atlanta is really just not there. I mean, you just they bleed points. Like you just get them left and right. They're the third worst defensive. They have the third worst defensive rating post All-Star break. Really, just not out there trying to stop anybody. More so just trying to, and they've talked about it. You read the quotes from Trae Young, you read the quotes from other guys on that team. They just play at such a fast pace that if I'm playing this game, I'm only looking towards the over. Hawks also 16-11 to the over as home favorites, including 4-1 to the over as home favorites post All-Star break. So when they're home favorites after the All-Star break, those games are going over. Also 6-1 against the spread as a home favorite, revenge of same season losses this season because they did lose to this Golden State Warriors team in Golden State when they played. I think that game did go to overtime as well. So real quickly, let me see if I can find it real quick. I do want to touch on just a tad, just go into a little bit more detail on how bad this Atlanta defense has been. So I mentioned they gave up 136 to the Timberwolves, which the Timberwolves have really struggled to score. Post All-Star break, we faded them correctly on a total against the Boston Celtics 2 nights ago. So giving up 136 to Minnesota is crazy. 134 to Boston. They did beat the Wizards at home. They gave up. I'm sorry, the Wizards on the road. They only gave up 107 in that spot. They gave up 120 to the Wizards before that. 130 to the Heat. 117 to Miami. It's been really, really bad for this team. It's been really bad on the defensive end. So if I'm playing this game, I'm only looking towards the over. It should be a winnable game for Atlanta. I know that they probably want to get off the losing snide, but every single game for the Golden State Warriors is also really, really important for them right now as they battle in the Western Conference for their playoff lives because they are coming off a loss to the Clippers the other day in a game that Steph had 50 points. And I would also be looking at Steph points prop in this game as well. On the road, no Draymond. Draymond impacts the total. He is one of the better defenders, even though he's been also not the greatest defender. I just feel like whoever they throw in there won't, necessarily have the basketball IQ that Draymond has. I mean, of course they won't. And I would look towards the Hawks to cover this game as well. I didn't play the side, the 1.5, but I do think that the Hawks can cover this. Head to head, the season series is now 3-0 to the over in the last 3 games, and 4 of the last 5 have also gone over. Just looking back at the total, and then if I'm looking at the reason why I'm looking at the Hawks, like I said, it's a winnable game. No Draymond. We know that the Warriors already struggled. They're the worst road team in the NBA besides, I think, the Houston Rockets. Warriors are also just 1-9 straight up and against the spread when they're playing on the first leg of a back-to-back. I mentioned they do play in Memphis tomorrow. They're also the Hawks are 7-0 straight up, winning by an average of 9 points when they're revenging same season losses this season as a home favorite, right? So when they go on the road and lose, but then they come back home and they're actually a favorite. This team is 7-0 straight up. So looking at the spread, you only need them to win by 2 points. If I'm playing this game, I'm taking the Hawks. I'm not playing the Warriors, and I'm definitely taking the over. I know it's an extremely high total, but I'm only playing the over 248. Golden State should be able to come in here and score whatever it is that they want. And we know on the opposite side, Atlanta, she should see little resistance from this Golden State Warriors defense that's absolutely terrible on the road. So that's the way I'm playing that game. I want to get to one more game real quick. And I was actually just looking at this one. I want to touch on this Wizards and Cavs game. So Wizards versus Cavs. It looks like Cavs are 6-point favorites at the crib today. And we got a total of about 220 points. So this is an interesting game here. So you get a conference game for the Wizards who, it looks like they've kind of tailed out a tad bit. This team is just 4-6 straight up and against the spread in their last 10. The Cavs are 6-4 straight up, 5-5 in their last 10 as well. The Wizards are coming off I wouldn't say impressive, but a much needed win against the Detroit Pistons They won that game by 20 points. They caught Detroit on the second leg of a back-to-back, and it was a home road back-to-back for the Pistons as well. They did get the win in that spot. Injury-wise, real quick before I jump into the rest of it, Kyle Kuzma is listed as probable. He didn't play in the last game. He should be back in this one. Jared Allen, I think, has also already been ruled out for this game against the Washington Wizards today with the eye contusion. He hasn't played in the last 4 or 5 games, I think, for the Wizards as well. They did say for the Cavs. They did say that it wasn't as bad as the one that Darius Garland suffered on opening night in Toronto, but I don't think it's like too concerning as far as like light, him being able to see light, but it is pretty pretty bad. If you look at him, he can't really open his eye all the way. But neither here nor there on that. You look at this Wizards team, they're not in a good spot. And you can say the same thing about the Cavs. This is a third game in 4 nights. I think a fourth game in 6 nights for the Cavs as well. But this Wizards team, they play tomorrow, so this is a one-off game for them. They played Detroit. Well, they started the season. They started the week on Sunday in Philly, and then they got a day off. They came home and they played Detroit. Now you go to Philly. I'm sorry. Now you go to Cleveland for this game, but then you got to fly back home tomorrow to host the Sacramento Kings. So you either go all out tonight and try to win this game, or you save some tomorrow so Sacramento doesn't absolutely dust you off tomorrow. We know Sacramento's been absolutely balling, and Sacramento probably got revenge on their mind because the Wizards did beat them 125-111, right? So that's kind of setting the stage from the Wizards' perspective. You look at this Cavs team; they are coming off a 9-point loss as a 2.5-point dog against the Philadelphia 76ers on Wednesday in a game that we did fade them correctly as well. But before that, they had back-to-back wins against the Charlotte Hornets. They beat Miami last week as well, and then they lost to Miami in one of those games as well. But this team has been balling pretty much for the most part in the last few games. They have 4 straight overs as well. I think with Jared Allen not being there, it kind of influences the total to go over because he's their defensive anchor. And just head to head, Cleveland did beat Washington 114-91 on February 6th in Washington as well. Not opening night, but one of the opening games, Cleveland beat Washington 117-107 as well. I just don't like the spot for the Wizards in this one. I don't like the spot for the Wizards, and I think I want to back the Cleveland Cavaliers as home favorites coming off a home loss, right? So a couple things I'll share with you guys that I looked at. The first thing I looked at was, let's see. Okay, so the first thing I looked at was the Wizards when they're playing on the first leg of a back-to-back in road games. They're only 2-7 straight up and 2-7 against the spread, losing those games by average of 7 points. They've also failed to cover in that spot 6 out of their last 7 games. The only one that they did cover was against the Mavericks back on January 24th. So that was a big reason why I'm kind of looking towards the Cavs. I also, you kind of just want to fade. You kind of want to take the Cavs in a bounce back spot after losing as a home. At home, they typically don't in that spot. So if you look at this Cavaliers team, and you look at them as a home favorite off a previous home loss, they are 3-1 straight up, 3-1 against the spread as well, winning those games by average of 7 points, 117-110. They've won and covered 2 in a row. They won and covered against the Bucks in this spot, and won and covered against the Grizzlies as well. Diving a little bit deeper, I look at the Cavs as home favorites in conference games, 13-5-2. Not a team you typically want to fade. That 72% cover rate, winning those games by average of 11 points as well. And they have 4 of their last 5 covers, and it looks like 6 of their last 8 covers as well when they're a home favorite in conference games. Another thing I looked at, Wizards just rolled dogs in conference games, just 6-9 against the spread, 5-11 straight up, and they've been kind of teetering back and forth. One more thing I wanted to tell you guys, and then I promise I'm gonna get off this game. I looked at the Wizards as road dogs in conference games after the All-Star break, and they're on the first leg of a back-to-back. Like I said, I just really don't like the spot. So Wizards as road dogs in conference games on the first leg of a back-to-back 0-3 straight up, 0-3 against the spread. They in this spot, they've lost to the Celtics, got smashed, lost that game by 18. They also lost to the Celtics again, lost that game by 9. Both of those games were in Boston. They also lost to the Pacers 111 to 121, on December the 9th. So they've lost and not covered any of these games. If I'm playing this game, I'm laying the 6 points with the Cleveland Cavaliers. This one's not extremely simple, but it is pretty simple. You even go through and you just look at the Wizards' last few games, right? The ones that they've won have come against really, inferior opponents. The ones that they've lost have come from superior opponents as well, on the opposite wise in contrast. So Detroit, not a great team. They win that game by 20. They go to Philly, they lose by 19, right? They lose to Atlanta. They beat Detroit. They lose to Milwaukee. They lose to Toronto. So to me, it's just kind of a trend. The defensive teams they struggle with, the offensive teams they typically play well against. So I would be looking at the Cavs minus the 6 in this game. I'm gonna get to the comment section real quick, and I know I've been on for 21 minutes, and I'm gonna jump off of here. But I do kind of want to just go over a summary of what I just kind of talked about. If I'm playing anything today, and I haven't placed any of these yet, the 3 games that I kind of talked about, the Sixers and Hornets over the 226 number widely available right now. Definitely shop around for the best number. The Warriors and the Hawks over 247.5. That number is widely available right now. Also, really, really would look hard at Steph points in that one. And then the Wizards and the Cavs. I'd have to lay the 6 points with the Cleveland Cavaliers in this spot. If I'm playing, then I'm laying the points with those guys. So best bets are at the bottom. I'm gonna go through some of the comments real quick. Let's see if we can have a good bounce back day. It wasn't a bad day yesterday. I just went a little light. I talked about that yesterday, not really liking the slate too much. So let's see what we can do today. What up, Brian? Appreciate you, man. What up, Derek? Zachariah, my guy. Jay Herb said, yes, sir. Let's get it. Cashed a plus 470 parlay with Pascal Siakam 24, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander 27, and Claxton points plus rebound that the guy in the Spaces recommended. Yeah, the Spaces was good yesterday, man. Spaces was good for sure yesterday. Good morning, Tyreek. Appreciate you yesterday. What up, Jake? There's a chance that Curry may sit tonight. Yeah, I saw that. I don't think he's going to sit tonight, though. I did see this. Cool Hicks, I think is how you pronounce that. Steph is officially listed as questionable. My concern, not I guess not really a concern, but you just take a look at the Eastern Conference. I'm sorry, you take a look at the Western Conference and where these teams kind of stand right now. The Warriors are in 6th place right now, 36-24. To me, with the number being so high on the total, to me it's kind of indicative of Steph being in there. Also, without Steph and without Draymond, I think the spread flies open. I think we don't see a 1.5 point spread. So I did see that Steph was listed as questionable. He finished the last game. I watched that game against the Clippers. He looked fine. I mean, maybe he could sit. He was getting banged up, but if I had to make a call on his injury, I say that Steph plays in this one. Warriors can't afford to lose right now. They are in the 6th position, but they're one game out. One game out of being in 9th or 10th. So every win is really, really important for this team. And I guess the Warriors may be looking at it like, are both of these games, winnable, right? Can we beat Atlanta today and then go on the road and beat the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow? I don't think they beat Memphis tomorrow if they go all out against Atlanta, because Atlanta, you're going to exert a lot of energy trying to keep up with Atlanta pace. Atlanta plays so fast, which is why I'd be looking towards that total to go over. Timothy said, Chris, don't sleep. I sleep a little bit, man. I try to get enough rest. I'm an advocate for, getting a good 8 hours of sleep. Bitsy said, Curry points at 29.5, juice to the under. Are they tricking us, Chris? I would say no. I would say you got to open them at 29.5. Nobody on that team is going to be able to guard him. Dude just went for 50 He had 27.5 pretty much at halftime. So I think it's another, night from Steph where he has to go crazy in this one, especially without Draymond. Somebody assist gonna have to be in play as well, though. Maybe we look at Klay points as well. Check Klay game logs against the Atlanta Hawks. See how he's been playing against them in that spot, because he is off a bad game, and maybe he bounces back in this one. Big Nay said he loves the over in the Wizards and the Cavs game. Oh man, I don't know about that one. I mean, I can see it. I gotta look at it. I gotta look at it a little bit more. Cool Hawks said Golden State Atlanta spread already moving to Atlanta -2.5. Yeah, I saw it actually at 3. I did see it at 3 yesterday. When the news came out that Draymond was gonna be suspended, and that the tech wasn't gonna be rescinded. Mike Bond said he waiting on Poole assist to open up. It could be. I mean, Jordan Poole gonna have to be in there. They're gonna need offense, but Jonathan Kuminga might also be somebody to look at. He's probably gonna play the role of Draymond today, if I had to guess. But yeah, man, 58 people in here watching this morning. I appreciate you guys, as I always say. Best bets that I have not locked in. I got some more work to do on the card. Those are what I'm looking at initially, though. Those are my top looks for today that I have in place. 76ers and Hornets to go over to 226. Warriors and Hawks to go over to 247. I noticed a high number. And looking at the Cavs to be able to cover the 6 points, even without Jared Allen at home, in a bounce back spot against the Washington Wizards, who really, really struggled on the road. And they're on the first leg of a back-to-back. Absolutely hate the spot for the Wizards today. So a couple of spot plays that I like. And that's what I got for you guys. I always ask you guys towards the end of the show to check out the podcast. When I finish these shows, I typically just download them and get them uploaded to podcast streaming platforms. There's a link that's in the description as well for you guys. So people don't have to necessarily go searching, like, how do I find the podcast? If you look at the link on YouTube, if you look at the description on YouTube, there's a link in there where you guys can click on the podcast. And if you guys wouldn't mind checking the podcast out, I'm not asking you to re-listen to it if you don't want to, but a lot of gems that I drop in here, a lot of SDQL type stuff, a lot of trends, a lot of stats. I look at these games from a lot of different angles. So if you guys wouldn't mind checking out the pod, just leaving a review over there, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, subscribing to the show if you guys haven't already as well. Hopefully we have another profitable day. I'm gonna take some time and dive into this card a little bit more today. But and then I'll of course do the show at 5:30 Eastern time, Crispy Cap and NBA show, where I have official looks as well. Also probably a Bet US play of the day on Twitter also. So definitely do me those favors. Hit the like button for me, subscribe to the video, share the shows, all of those things, and check out the podcast. All those things are greatly, greatly appreciated. All the content is always free for you guys. I just ask that you guys help me out in that way. So best of luck. 28 minutes in the books, a little bit longer than I expected for today. But best of luck to you guys today, man. And I'll be back at 5:30 with some official plays for you guys as I take a deeper dive into these games, man. Best of luck today. I'm out.